EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas ruled out the possibility of appointing former German Chancellor Gerhard Schröder as the bloc's negotiator in peace talks on Ukraine. On Saturday, Russian President Vladimir Putin had proposed to make Schröder the mediator in future negotiations. However, Kallas argues that following his suggestion would put Putin on both sides of the negotiating table.
First, if we give the right to Russia to appoint a negotiator on our behalf, that would not be very wise. And second, I think Gerhard Schröder has been the high-level lobbyist for Russian state-owned companies. So it's clear why Putin wants him to be the person, so that actually, he would be sitting on both sides of the table.
Schröder has maintained close ties with Putin since leaving office. He served on the board of Russian oil giant Rosneft until 2022 and also held roles with other Russian state-owned energy firms. Putin's proposal was also rejected by Ukraine and received a mixed response across Europe.
Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine and the Middle East conflict will be top of the agenda at a meeting of European Union foreign ministers in Brussels. Speaking to Euronews program Europe Today, Sweden's Foreign Minister Maria Malmer Stenergard said that Moscow is not genuinely interested in peace.
I think the main problem is that Russia is not really interested in peace. They are trying different maneuvers, but we need to keep our focus where it needs to be, and that is on increasing the pressure on Russia and increasing the support for Ukraine. So there's a lot more to be done.
EU foreign ministers are hoping to expand the EU blacklist of Russian individuals responsible for the deportation and forced adoption of Ukrainian children. Maria Malmer Stenergard also noted a change in the atmosphere of these meetings following the arrival of Hungarian new government under Peter Magyar.
US President Donald Trump rejected Iran's response to its latest proposal to end the war, calling it, quote, totally unacceptable in a social media post on Truth Social. Trump did not elaborate further, but in an earlier post he did accuse Tehran of playing games with the United States for nearly 50 years. Iran had sent its response to Washington's latest proposal via Pakistani mediators on Sunday. State television reported that Tehran rejected it as it insists on war reparations by the US, full Iranian sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, an end to sanctions, and the release of seized Iranian assets. The failure to come to an agreement marks the latest setback in efforts to resolve the standoff in the Persian Gulf, which has disrupted shipping and sent energy prices soaring. Trump has previously threatened to resume full-scale bombing if Iran does not accept an agreement to reopen the strait and roll back its nuclear program. And on its end, Iran warned the United States it would no longer refrain from retaliatory attacks. Beijing has confirmed that US President Donald Trump is heading to China on Wednesday on a 3-day state visit. Trump is set to discuss trade in Iran with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. He is also expected to urge Beijing to use its influence to pressure Iran into making a deal with Washington. The visit to China will be the first by a U.S. president since Trump last went there in 2017. He was expected to travel to China earlier this year, but his trip was postponed due to the Iran war. Trump has often praised his ties with Xi, but China and the U.S. remain at odds over several key issues, such as trade tariffs, Beijing's relation with Iran, and Taiwan. The U.S. president's visit will include a welcome ceremony, a meeting with Xi, a tour of the Temple of Heaven, and a state banquet.
Dozens of passengers from the hantavirus-hit cruise ship were repatriated home on Sunday aboard military and government planes after the vessel anchored in the Canary Islands. Spanish passengers were the first to leave the cruise ship following its arrival in Tenerife, with none of the passengers showing symptoms, according to first medical checks. Hours later, a plane that evacuated French passengers landed in Paris. According to a statement by the French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu, one of the 5 French passengers developed symptoms on the flight and all were put into strict isolation with plans to be tested. The last evacuation flight is expected to leave for Australia on Monday. According to the WHO, all passengers on board are classified as, quote, high-risk contacts, but the risk to the general public and the people of the Canaries remained low. Meanwhile, in Italy, authorities say at least 4 people are in quarantine in the country after briefly boarding a flight with one of the victims.
The drought situation in Hungary is becoming increasingly severe. In some places, the soil is lacking 120 milliliters of moisture. The water shortage is most alarming in the Great Plain. To alleviate the situation and develop an immediate water management plan, Peter Magyar has asked Laszlo Gajdos, future Minister of Environment in the Tisza government, to take action. Due to the April drought, Gajdos has urged everyone who can to refrain from mowing their lawns, at least through May, explaining that frequent mowing requires much more water. The deputy spokesperson for the National Water Authority says that based on rainfall over the past 5 years, they are effectively missing a full year's worth of precipitation. According to Attila Szegi, to better distribute existing water resources, infrastructure must be made more flexible and public engagement is also crucial.
Éppen a tegnapi napon jártunk a sáréti vízőrzőkkel közösen egy területbejárásra a román határ mentén, a Kis-Sáréten, ahol több mint 1 éve már a vízügy együtt dolgozik ezekkel a civilekkel, azon, hogy ott a térségben vizet tudjunk megtartani. Itt a Sebeskörös és a Berettyó vízkészletére alapozva állami művekkel juttatjuk ki a vizet, a civilek pedig jelentős segítséget nyújtanak például a csatornákon betétpallózásokban, vízkormányzásban, illetve nyilván kollégáinkkal egyeztetve, ahol lehet ki is vezetik a vizet a tájba.
The levels of Hungary's rivers, lakes and even groundwater are critically low. The mayor of a town on the shore of Lake Valence says water scarcity has long been a topic discussion among local leaders. If water is diverted from the Danube, it's only a temporary solution. In the long term, only a new pipeline system would resolve the lake situation.
Mivel hogy a város 50-60 éve turizmusra épül, szükség van a Velencei tóra és a Velencei tóban lévő vízre, amit most jól látható módon egyre kevesebb. Az idei évet, az idei szezont a legmagasabb, azt hiszem 81 cm-rel kezdtük, most pedig sajnálatos módon már csak 66 cm a Velencei tó vízállása. A legkisebb vízállás az 53 cm volt, ezt valószínűleg június végére el is fogjuk érni.
The current water level is about 60-70 centimeters lower than optimal.
Concern is mounting in Cyprus over this year's tourism outlook due to the war in Iran and initial data showing a significant drop in arrivals in April and the first days of May, ranging from 30 to 40%. Euronews visited Agia Napa, where the absence of tourists is evident. Business owners say that events in the Middle East have significantly impacted the situation.
The sun is shining, temperatures are around 20 degrees Celsius, the businesses are open, but what's missing is the tourists. We can't say there's nobody here, of course, but locals tell us that they're well down on the figures they had last year.
Tourism business owners in Agia Napa are seeing a very different picture this May compared to last year's record-breaking season.
Normally it's busy the boats, busy the hotels, busy all the restaurants. At this time, normally all the hotels almost was fully booked last year. Compared to this year, I think so we are lower numbers from last year, about 30 to 40%.
The mayor of Agia Napa, Christos Zanetou, emphasized that the situation in the Middle East has caused significant damage, but tourists have begun to realize that Cyprus is a safe destination. That is why, as he says, there is now a recovery.
Το 2025 ήταν η καλύτερη τουριστική περίοδος της Κύπρου και ειδικά της Αγίας Νάπας από το 2019. Άρα όταν μιλάμε για αριθμητικές συγκρίσεις πρέπει να το λαμβάνουμε και αυτόν υπόψη. Τις τελευταίες 2 εβδομάδες βλέπουμε μια ανάκαμψη. Θεωρούμε ότι ο κόσμος εμπιστεύεται πλέον την Αγία Νάπα, την Κύπρο, ότι είναι ένας ασφαλής προορισμός και φαίνεται ότι άρχισε το ενδιαφέρον για τις κρατήσεις να ανεβαίνει.
Tourists who have started visiting Cyprus don't seem worried about anything. As they say, they are enjoying the sun, the sea and the beauty of Cyprus.
Byliśmy zdecydowanie tutaj przyjechać już od jakiegoś czasu, chociaż opcji było kilka, ale Przede wszystkim temperatura i słońce nas przekonały. No i widoki malarskie, żeby namalować kilka akwarel na pamiątkę.
Some tourists, however, haven't forgotten what's going on in the world right now.
Uns gefällt es hier sehr gut. Leider ist die weltkritische Lage natürlich ein bisschen angespannt und wir hoffen auf einen baldigen Frieden für die ganze Welt.
In May, flights from the UK are operating at 92% capacity.
Eurovision kicked off in Vienna on Sunday with thousands of fans flocking to the city ahead of the grand finale next weekend. As part of the opening ceremony, all contestants walked down the turquoise carpet in the afternoon. Finland is expected to be a fan favourite this year with singer Pete Parkkinen and violinist Linda Lampenius. Instruments are usually pre-recorded, but organisers have made an exception to allow Lampenius to play live, according to Finnish media.
The feeling, it has to come from here, from the heart, and we have this story, it's a duet, which comes from stories we have really experienced these things for real in life.
This year's contest is taking place amid several boycotts from Spain, Ireland, Iceland, the Netherlands and Slovenia. The countries are refusing to participate due to the contest allowing Israel to participate despite criticism over war crimes in Gaza.
Ich glaube, es ist eigentlich eine Veranstaltung, die Europa zusammenführen soll und es ist eine Veranstaltung, in der wir immer herrlich mit allen Leuten aus allen Regionen gefeiert haben. Das ist ein bisschen schade, dass das derzeit so schwer möglich ist.
Eurovision is one of the world's biggest music events, attracting millions of viewers each year. Its finale will take place on the 16th of May.